Fourth night of Verse Fest 2015 has been a rush so far, and it's not going to get any worse, I promise. I'm Rod Pederson, the president of the board of directors of Verse Ottawa, the organization that puts this on. And we wouldn't be able to put it on without our sponsors. And as you can see, their logos up there. We get significant support from the Canada Council, the Ontario Arts Council, and the City of Ottawa. In addition to that, the other sponsors either provide beer or sometimes donations, and without them, this couldn't happen. It also couldn't happen without the volunteers who were manning the door and the merch tables and the bar and so on, and we're profoundly grateful to those folks. So tonight the ARC poetry event is going to be hosted by Shane Rhodes. So turn it over to Shane. Let's go.
Great. Thanks so much, Rod. And thanks everybody for coming out on a great night and what will be a great night of poetry. As you know, so this event is being put on by ARC Poetry Magazine. ARC's a magazine that many of you probably know has been around for over 20 years, based in Ottawa. It is Canada's only national poetry magazine, and I think I've been working with ARC for around 8 years, and it is a really important magazine in Canada, especially in the world of poetry, and in the world outside of poetry as well. It becomes a bit of an ambassador for those worlds that live on the edge of poetry. And we offer a really, I think, unique space where we have art mixing in with poetry, and we also have a really, I think, vibrant space for discussions of poetry and the criticism of poetry and the reviewing of poetry. Out of any magazine and newspaper in Canada, we publish the most poetry reviews anywhere. And we take that seriously. We take the idea that we're part of that sort of thriving community of what makes poetry happen. So tonight is no exception. We've got 4 great readers and a really interesting mix of readers that we have are new to ARC and some that have been involved in some of our programs. One of the interesting programs coming from ARC that we started a few years ago is called the Virtual Poet in Residence program. And this is a program where every year we hire a well-known Canadian poet to work as our personal poet in residence. And so this poet functions and works with a lot of the young poets that we have coming through ARC that are submitting work to ARC. And so we'll then get some of the younger poets that we see have really promising work, and we'll get them to work with the poet in residence. And so in the last 2 years, we've had 2 really outstanding poets in residence, Sylvia Legree, and our current poet in residence, Marilyn Dumont. Unfortunately, neither of them are here tonight, but we do have some interesting connections to them. So, without further ado, then I'll start with our first reader, JC Bouchard. He was actually a mentee with Sylvia Legree, and I think some of his work was published in ARC after he had worked with Sylvia on that and a number of other poems. JC was born in Elliott Lake. His poetry has appeared in Inwords, Bywords, Parenthetical, Rappahannock, Review, and Control Literary Magazine. In 2013, one of his poems was longlisted for the CBC Poetry Prize, and another received honorable mention for the John Newlove Poetry Award. He's the author of 2 chapbooks, Portraits and In Wool Water. He lives in Toronto. Please welcome JC.